Game on, and welcome to this week's episode of Ref the District. I am the Stoner. This is episode number 5, and we have got a great show for you today. As I said, I'm the Stoner, and as you can see next to me, we are missing right now our usual co-host, Nathan. As he talked about last week, if you remember in episode number 4, he talked about how he had surgery recently and he had a little bit of a slow recovery, a little setback last week, but he is back home. I was texting with him this morning and he's doing much better. So get well, Nathan. And you all are just going to have to deal with just me talking for a while. Although we've got a guest and we'll talk about him here in just a second. Got a big show for you. We've got our usual GBU, good, bad, and the ugly. And we have our district in review where we talk about the Washington football team, the Nats, the Caps, and the Wiz, and everything that happened last week. But before we do all of that, I want to introduce our guest. And our guest is coming in now, and his name is Kwame Lewis. He is a University of South Alabama senior safety. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Ref the District, Kwame.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It's a blessing to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks again for joining us. And when I was when we were promoting the show this past week, and people were seeing that you were going to come on the show, and I got a lot of feedback. And what most people asked me was, how is it that you and Kwame have a connection? Here's a young man from Alabama, and here's an old man from DC. What is it that connected the two of you? What is it that you have in common? And I told everyone the exact same thing. I said 2 words: Russell Westbrook. So the question is, for me, I've always been a big Westbrook guy because even like maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I tweeted and I said, Russell Westbrook is the most underrated superstar in the NBA. Now, of course, he's gone on to win MVP and all NBA many times over. He's no longer underrated. But in Nathan, he is from Oklahoma. And so Oklahoma City is his team. So he loves Russell Westbrook. But how is it that a young man in Alabama comes to admire a player who grew up in California, played college in California, has played professionally in Oklahoma, Texas, and DC? How is it that you came to kind of admire Russell Westbrook?
I mean, so with me being from Alabama, we don't have any professional teams, which sucks. So that leads me to exploring other places. So in the NBA, I'm all over the place. So basically, I watch a good bit of players. So Russell Westbrook, I started watching him maybe like around 2011, 2012, like around the decline of the Boston era. And it's just I love his drive. Like everyone was so stuck over KD, Kevin Durant, and all that. I like Russell Westbrook because like it's rare to find somebody who plays that hard every night and truly underappreciated. Like even after time went on, when KD left, he was still doing what he needed to do, but it's everyone wanted to throw the blame on him. And it's just I love his underdog mentality and stuff like that.
Yeah, and even just a couple of years ago, after KD left, 3 or 4 years ago, KD left and Harden left, he was still taking that team to the playoffs and still giving teams trouble in the playoffs.
Like people don't understand, like no disrespect, but that OKC team was kind of horrible.
Right. Except for him, right?
Yes, and like he carried them to the playoffs every year, but everyone wanted to say, "Oh, he's just stat chasing. He's just stat chasing." They don't understand that when he gets his triple doubles, they win games.
Right.
They have like when is getting stats bad?
Right. When they're all good stats, that's how you win the game.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned that when Boston kind of tailed off, again, how is it that you're liking the Celtics? What is it about the Celtics that you're a big fan of them?
2007, 2008. So I was around like 10 years old, and I saw when they made the trade for Ray Allen and Kevin Durant, and just watching that team come together. So like at that point, at like 10 years old, you're not really like a set in stone fan unless you grew up around that sports team and stuff like that. So me, I was watching different teams and stuff like that. And one day I was watching the Celtics play. I was like, oh, I like this team.
Hmm.
I saw the truth, Paul Pierce.
Oh yeah, the
So I just
truth. Former
I just
Wizard, by the way, Paul
yeah.
Pierce.
He called game.
Yeah, you remember that shot? Oh, it was one of the
Yeah.
best shots in Wizards history.
But I just started watching Boston more and more, and I just love the chemistry they played with and all that. Even though we didn't live up to expectations, we were supposed to win more than one championship, but it still was great watching that team.
Well, you can't be too upset. You got one.
Yeah.
I mean, during the time that you were watching them, and then you look back at their history where they have, who knows, I don't know how many they have, 20 something overall. So that's obviously a great franchise to follow. And this year, I don't know what's going on this year with Celtics. Why are they struggling with all that talent?
I have no clue.
Right.
It's been frustrating. It's been frustrating as a fan because like last year we were just in the conference finals. Now this
Right.
year all of a sudden we're struggling for a playoff spot.
Right.
I really have no clue. I think it's more of as I honestly don't know. I can't explain.
Right. Is it maybe that the coach, maybe it's wearing thin, his message is wearing thin because he's been there for a while and he can't kind of get them over the hump?
Now, honestly, I think it's okay. The lack of playmakers.
Mm,
So we have our scoring wings, Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. Kemba Walker, he's a scorer, but I feel like honestly, with those two great wings, you need like a playmaking point guard to create offense for like others.
mm,
And that's honestly what Marcus Smart was for us. And Marcus
right.
Smart has been missing for probably like the last month now.
Mhm.
So that was a big part. So we haven't really had our whole team together, and people don't understand. Marcus Smart is truly underappreciated.
He is. I agree.
I think he's our team captain because he's the longest tenured Celtic. So he keeps them together on the defensive end, and he can make plays on offense because he isn't the best scorer, but he looks to get others involved and stuff like that. That's why I was actually interested. I seen an article saying Celtics should bring back Rondo, and I was thinking
Mm.
that's the perfect fit.
Yeah, it might be. They do need a point guard, in my opinion. They need a point guard who doesn't score, who isn't looking to score all the time. Because, like you said, they have scorers. They have Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. They don't need a scorer. They need somebody like Rondo, like you said, that will just assist, and get the guys in a good position to score. So I agree with you that Rondo would be a good fit, but
I
Kemba,
also
he's
saw
making a lot of money.
I also saw a trade rumor that they may consider Russell Westbrook, but I don't know how true that
Hey,
is.
hey, no, 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 no. No, no, we can't do that anymore. No, he's a wizard now. So let's talk about you a little bit and your new YouTube show or vlog, which is a day in the life of a D1 athlete that you just started fairly recently. What was the inspiration for you wanting to do that?
So honestly, when I created the channel, I was just creating the channel. And I was like, well, okay, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel. I play games and stuff like that. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to like really put on it. And then one day I was just browsing YouTube and I was like, this is my last year of college football. I should really show people how it really is. And I want to have some type of like documented proof, like so I can go back and look back at the fun times we had in college and stuff like that and what I really
Mm.
went through as a D1 athlete. Because everyone's, like I said in the video, everyone's experience is different. So my experience here at South Alabama may be different from someone at UCLA or such and such. And just wanted to get my personal experience and just be authentic and have some fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned in one of the episodes where you said that you think people are interested to see what goes on in the everyday life of a D1 athlete. And as a viewer, when I watch it, I said, you're exactly right. It is kind of fun to see what really goes on because normally we just see game day. We don't
Yes.
see the work that goes in, the training room, all the people behind the scenes that are helping you guys prepare for a game. So you're right. It is very interesting to see what you guys are doing.
Mhm. I wish I could actually get some actual like training clips, but I had to put the phone down during
That's right. You
during the
have to
workouts.
you actually do have a practice. You got to do all of
Yeah.
that. You got to put the phone down once in a while. So you have some really good editing skills or production skills. Is that all you? Did you learn that, or do you have someone helping you with that?
It just came with me playing around on my MacBook. I was experimenting and I was like, oh hey, that looked cool. And I just kept playing around until I got it right. And so I actually have people in the video editing world. One of my close friends, Timothy, I made sure they approved it and they gave their input on it. And our video coordinator for the team, I let her look at it and give her input on it and just make sure, like, they didn't really tell me what to do, but it was like, okay, this is what I would do. That intro is a little too long. And then they just give me feedback as I go.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's great to have them.
I like it. I enjoy it. So keep putting them out and keep, putting them out on YouTube and promoting it on your Twitter account. And again, it's called Day in the Life of a D1 Athlete. And
Yes.
and there's something else that you said, or that it's a common theme. You seem to say it at the beginning and at the end, and I have to put my glasses on to read it because I don't want to mess up the quotes. But at the end of your most recent episode, you said, "I will do something great. I will be something great," and you say something to that effect at the beginning and the end. Where does that come from, and what does that mean to you?
Okay, so my senior year of high school, I lost one of my friends, one of my childhood friends that I grew up with. His name was Roderick Scott. He passed away in a car accident.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Like 3 months before our graduation, and he was a basketball player. He was signed to go play basketball at Jacksonville State University in Alabama, and it's the fact that he didn't get to live out his college dream as an athlete. So people right after the passing, people found one of his old tweets, and that was his old tweet, and that kind of became like the statement that a lot of people lived by. People got it tattooed on them. They just would say it like, and it's honestly a great statement to live by. I would do something great. I would be something great.
Yeah, that is, and keep that up. I like that. That not only that putting it out there, but I like the philosophy to live by that. So last year, when we talk a little bit about South Alabama football, last year, of course, for everybody was just a crazy year, 2020, the pandemic and everything. But how did that affect you and your team, as far as did you guys have to cut practices or cut games? How was the 2020 pandemic football team or football season for South Alabama?
It was one of the most weirdest years I ever experienced in the
Right.
sports world
Yeah.
because, like, I remember a year ago in March, we went on spring break. When we got back from spring break, we were set to start spring practices. Then all of a sudden, no spring practice. So like last year, it was supposed to be a great year. Like we had a new strength and conditioning coach. We were working hard for like 8 weeks, and then as soon as we got to spring break, guys will be pushing practice back, and then all of a sudden there's no spring. So it came to this point where we were really just training on our own because we couldn't even be nowhere near the university. So
Right.
I was back home in Montgomery, Alabama, and just training, taking trips to Atlanta to train with a guy named Oliver Davis, and that's really all I could do. I didn't have access to a weight room because everything closed down. So my parents went out and bought a few weights from Academy. So I was doing what I could there, doing some curls, doing some bench press, trying to do some squats, but with no
Mhm.
squat rack.
Yeah.
And,
Well, they must have gotten to Academy early, because if I remember, places like that, they were just running out of all of that
yes,
equipment because everybody wanted to do the same thing.
yes, and I had my two stepbrothers at home. One of my stepbrothers played football at San Mateo Junior College in California, and one of
Mhm.
my stepbrothers do track. So we were just all taking turns. We would rotate. Okay, early in the day it will be me on the back patio working out. Then around noon it would be my younger stepbrother. Then later it'll be my other stepbrother. So
Yeah.
we were just trying to work. And then once we got back to Mobile in the summer, we had COVID testing every week, which was
Yeah, that's not fun, right?
it wasn't, but whatever to be able to play. So
Sure.
we just it was different. We had to work out in smaller groups. And then at one point during fall camp, they the NCAA came up with the thing where we had everyone had to wear face shields, and we also had to wear plastic around the bottom of our of our helmets. That was difficult breathing.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure. And this
and
was
then
even in practice, you had to do that?
yeah, they lasted for like 3 days in practice. then
Right.
and then I guess the NCAA was like, nah, we're not gonna
Yeah,
make
you
them
can't
do
do
that.
that. Right.
And then so the biggest difference we had to cancel the Florida game. We were supposed to play Florida in like September. So
Oh,
because
wow.
the SEC went conference only. So
Okay, right.
we ended up scheduling Tulane University from Louisiana. And that was really the main difference we had. And but the thing is, this is supposed to be like a full stadium year because we actually just got our on campus stadium.
A brand new stadium, right?
Yeah, so we were excited about
Mm,
that. Then come to find out, oh, we got to have limited capacity and all
yeah.
of that. So,
Yeah.
and actually, we were one of the first teams to start the season off.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, we started the season I think September 3rd at Southern Miss, and we was like the second game because UAB was first. UAB played that same night, but like an hour earlier than us, and
Okay.
we played at like 7 p.m. On CBS. So I guess after that happened, they seen us play the game safely and whatever. No outstanding positive test numbers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We were other teams. I think that's when the Big Ten was like, oh, they'll play, and then the it confused me. The Pac-12, Pac-10.
Yeah, whatever they are now, right?
Yeah, they came out and said they'll play. So I think we kind of like set the standard for, oh, it is okay to play.
Yeah, absolutely, because yeah, the Big Ten wasn't even gonna play. They had canceled their entire season
Yeah.
until they started seeing teams like your team and your conference doing it successfully, and finally they said,
Yeah.
"Well, maybe we can do this, and oh, by the way, we're losing tons of money, so let's go ahead and play this season." Um, so let's talk a little bit about, South Alabama football. So last year you didn't have a great year, right? Were you 4-7 last year?
Yeah.
And then you changed coaches, and you've got this new coach. I don't think I can pronounce his name. Kane Womack, is that right?
Womack, yes, sir.
Womack. Okay. So he comes from Indiana University, where he was defensive coordinator, but he was also the defensive coordinator at South Alabama in the past. Was he there when you were there, or
Yes,
as a defensive coordinator earlier?
yes. It's only like a few of us that were here when he was here last time.
Hmm.
So it's great to have him welcome back. And it's basically like we got a family member back and we're ready to get to work with him. We're excited. All of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier. It might have been before we actually started, but you said this is your sixth year. So the NCAA gave almost all Division One athletes the opportunity to have an extra year of eligibility because of the last year, and you
Mhm.
took advantage of that. And I think that's great. And tell me why you decided to go ahead and take advantage of that 6 year eligibility.
Okay, so to begin, so I walked on to the University of South Alabama.
Oh, okay. Actually didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, and so I walked on back my freshman year. Your freshman year counts as like your redshirt year because I couldn't walk on like the fall of my freshman year, so I came out the next season. So automatically, I had already had a redshirt year,
I
and
see.
then
Okay.
so time passed, and like my career had been like it's a blessing to be here, but it hadn't like been like as good as it could have been, and I still feel like there's some positive that can come out of this.
Hmm.
And it's just I want to take a chance with Coach Womack, and like I said, I would like to I would like a conference championship. I would like to become an All American. Would like to
Hmm.
catch a lot of picks, make a lot of plays,
Right.
and
Right.
we didn't get chance to. Honestly, with the last coaching staff, we had a lot going on with like ups and downs throughout the seasons and stuff like
Sure.
that. And like honestly, I feel like this is the year. We have our new coach. someone who's been here before, and he's
Right.
ready to lead us, and we're ready to be led by him. So we're all just excited. And so when COVID, when they said they'll give us another eligibility, I was like,
Why
okay,
not?
okay,
Right? Why
yeah,
not? Let's play some more
yeah,
ball, right? Let's
yeah.
let's keep this going as long as we can. I know a lot of people have said that if they were given the opportunity to play 7 or 8 years in college, they do it because of the experience of playing sports, playing D1 sports in college is just it's an amazing time in your life. So I'm
It
excited
is.
that you're able to do that.
Thank you, thank you. It's just it's a blessing, but also like from being here a long time,
Yeah.
the workouts. Well, the workouts start getting to you. It's like, oh, my body's getting older now. But I've done this before. but
Yeah.
like I
But
said, we're excited. We're excited.
and you've got the entire program is fairly new,
Hmm.
right? It's only been around South Alabama football's only been around for I don't know 10, 11, 12 years, something like that.
Yes.
And as a D1 school in football, it's only been not
Like
probably not even 10 years, right?
like 7 maybe.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years. But in those videos that you had on your show, the facilities are amazing. I wouldn't think that. If somebody asked me about South Alabama football, first of all, I'd say I've yeah, I have no idea where South Alabama or where the school is because when I think of Alabama football, of course, I think of the Crimson Tide, but the facilities that you all have are amazing. The weight rooms and the workout areas. I mean, you have to really love all of that, all the facilities that you guys have.
Yeah, we're always in the shadows of like Alabama and Auburn, but
Sure.
with the new updates we've made on campus, you can't forget about us. Like we have our new stadium with one of the largest video boards in the state.
Oh
We have
wow.
our indoor practice facility with
Right.
which is like I think the largest or either the second largest in the state, which is
Wow.
set at like 130 yards, 140 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
So we have some nice facilities, and all of this has came in like the past 5 years.
Right.
Like the stadium was just completed in August or July. Like it honestly finished like right before fall camp. Our indoor practice facility like 2 years ago in like 2019. So
Right.
we're on the rise.
Well, maybe it has something to do with you being there because ever since you got there, all of a sudden everything gets upgraded.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like the place that our stadium is in, it used to be something called intramural fields, like just for like
Wow.
recreation sports on campus and stuff like that. It was just a
Yeah.
whole bunch of hills and stuff like that. And then now all of a sudden there's a huge stadium right there. It was like we really seen this campus change.
Right. Yeah, quite a bit. Now, I have to pick on you a little bit. We already talked a little bit about the Celtics, but the Eagles, really that's your team? That's the team that you love because here in Washington as a Washington football fan, we can't stand the Eagles.
I will understand.
So again, the question always goes back to how does a young man in Alabama come to cheer on a team like the Eagles?
I was a huge Michael Vick fan growing up.
Okay, that's fair.
So around like 2010, 2011, I was anticipating where Michael Vick would go. As soon as he signed with the Eagles, I was like, that's my team.
That's your
And
team.
I actually went to his first game back in Atlanta with my mom,
Oh yeah.
and that was like an amazing game. And then, so from then, I've been watching the Eagles. For before then, it was more like I was whoever was winning and stuff like that.
Right.
I like the Patriots at one point, and honestly I
Yeah.
like players. So I was a huge LaDainian Tomlinson fan. So
Okay.
once he ended up going to the Jets, his career kind of declined at some point, and I basically began. Man, I need a team. I need a team. I guess I was a Chargers fan growing up a little bit, but I was like, hey, I
Because
need a
of
team.
Tomlinson.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I loved him. I had his cleats and everything.
Oh, okay.
But so I love Michael Vick. Like I love watching Michael Vick play how electric he was. So he signed with the Eagles, and him and Deshaun Jackson.
Sure.
I love that team. So I just began watching them from there, and we're in and
All
we're in a
right.
bad
Well,
transition period.
let me give you two reasons to switch to Washington football. Number one, you're on this show, so that'll give you one reason. But number two, South Alabama's maybe their most accomplished player, or at least most famous player, is Jeremy Reeves, right? And he is a
Yes.
Washington football team member. And you probably know Jeremy well, right? Because he
Yes.
hasn't been gone that long. So why don't you follow Jeremy and say, "Hey, I am now a Washington football team fan."
I support him. I love
Okay.
Jeremy. He my big brother. But like when he caught the interception against them, I was so happy. I was like, he balling against my team.
Right, right.
But I just can't. No,
You
not
can't do
Washington.
it?
Nah.
Well, maybe just give it a try.
I
I
might
don't
get
know.
a jersey. I might get a jersey, his jersey for
Get a
sure.
Jeremy Reeves jersey. Was he 39? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he came on very well this past year.
Mm,
He was probably the third safety, I would say,
mm,
and then a couple of injuries. And he had a what was interesting was that Coach Rivera, middle of the season, Landon Collins gets hurt, and they had a chance to bring in Eric Reed, who was a
mm.
free agent. And Coach Rivera said, I'm not going to bring in Eric Reed because I think we've got a guy on our roster right now, Jeremy Reeves, who can do the job. And
Mhm.
Reeves really appreciated that. And he even said at the end of the season, he really balled out because his coach believed in him.
Yeah, and honestly, that didn't surprise me. Like his work ethic, and it was just a matter of when, not how he would play. It was like when would he play? When would he get the chance? Because like I
Mm,
seen him work firsthand. He was like, honest, he's one of the best players I ever seen play. And like I don't even understand why he didn't get drafted. But
right.
he was like unbelievable. He won Defensive Player of the Year in the conference
Yeah. And
as
didn't
a
even get
safety.
drafted.
Yeah, as a safety.
Hmm.
So it was a matter of time. I just wish that he continue. I mean, pray that he continue to prosper and grow and show these people what he's made of.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're happy to have him on our team, and maybe if he keeps playing well, we can convert you over to being a fan. So then another question that I had was about your rivalry with Troy. So that's a big deal, right? Tell me a little bit
Yes.
about the rivalry that you guys have.
Well, it actually starts at home. My mom is a Troy graduate.
Ah, so that's trouble. So why didn't you go to Troy and
It,
instead you went to South Alabama?
it just I don't know. I didn't
You-
like Troy,
right, right.
but
That's fair enough.
that's actually the most fun game to prepare for and actually play because like it's like a big rivalry. Like how you have Alabama and Auburn, where you bring
Hmm.
it down to our level. We have Troy and South Alabama, and we're in state less than about 2 hours apart.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of animosity when we come together and play. And unfortunately, the last matchup didn't go how we wanted, but
Yeah.
it's always some good competition.
Sure.
We
Absolutely.
battle for a belt every year.
And
So
what kind of belt? What do you mean by a belt?
it's kind of well, it's called the we call it the belt, but it's kind of like a wrestling belt, and it basically has
Ah, okay.
a picture of our rivalry on it and stuff like that. And each year we have the opportunity to keep the belt or either take it back for another team. So
Yeah. So one school gets to take it home, and that's what you guys battle for every year. And then
yeah,
you get bragging rights for a whole year. So they have
yeah.
bragging rights until you guys play. When do you play them this year? Do you know the date?
I'm not sure our schedule didn't release yet,
Ah, okay.
so we'll see.
And
We'll see how that goes.
when the schedule comes out and you guys get back to playing for this season, the 2021 season, do you know what the fan situation is going to be like for your school? If you're going to allow a certain amount of fans?
I'm not sure, but I hope we can have as many people as possible for it to be safe. I like for this past season it was 25%,
That's pretty
and
good,
so
actually.
yeah, it is. So that was around like 6, 7,000 for our stadium, and it was still like a big crowd, and we can only imagine like how would this be if it was full.
Yeah.
So we want it to be done safely, but we also want as many people as possible.
Sure. Well, hopefully by the fall, we can get the vaccines and
Mhm.
all of this other stuff, and we can get to a point where everybody has full stadiums, including you guys there in South Alabama.
Yeah.
So Kwame, I appreciate you joining our show this week. Again, I want to promote your YouTube channel, which is a day in the life of a D1 athlete. And again, thank you for coming on the show and talking about South Alabama football. And if possible, we'll try and convert you over to being a Washington football or a Wizard. Come on, the Wizards are
Well,
coming on strong.
actually, a fun fact: I like the Wizards. With
Okay.
they just weren't my favorite team, but I was a huge John Wall fan.
Okay.
And
So what do you
because
do when you're a huge fan of Wall and a huge fan of Westbrook and they get traded for each other?
that was crazy, but I was like, I hope John Wall has a great career in Houston. I hope Westbrook has a, but it was kind of like a love hate relationship with the Wizards because of that battle we had in the playoffs 3 years ago
Hmm.
with Isaiah Thomas and
Oh yeah. Oh,
and John Wall
Isaiah.
and Bradley Beal.
Isaiah was going off. I remember that.
That's who I want our point guard to be. I want Isaiah
Uh-huh.
Thomas to come back.
Well, I have seen lately he's playing for the U.S. team in a tournament, and reports are he seems to be fully healthy and he's
Yeah,
playing well.
yeah. So hopefully we make a move on that.
Maybe he'll get that shot. Well, good luck to you in your season upcoming, and again, really appreciate you joining us.
All right, thank you for having me. I hope
All
you
right.
have a great year, a great podcast as it continues to grow, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again, Kwame. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Wow, what a great young man, Kwame Lewis. And thank you again to him for joining us. And check out his YouTube page, Day in the Life of a D1 Athlete, and his Twitter, which is at KLEW_2, which is KLEWWW2 underscore. Check him out there. So let's get to our segment, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Again, this is an unsponsored segment, and we need to change that. We need to get some sponsors on board. Good, bad, and the ugly. GBU, hit us up at the below email or our Twitter if you want to sponsor this particular segment. So the good for this past week, of course, is the Wizards, which we're going to talk a little bit more later. They went 3-1 this past week and have won 7 of 8 overall, which is fantastic. The bad is the Alex Smith comments this past week in GQ magazine, and really he's had it in a couple of different places, to where he's saying that the Washington football team didn't really want him. He wasn't a part of their plans, but he was actually messed up their plans. I don't know. There's kind of a he said, she said, because Ron Rivera all along in the spring or in the summer in camp, he kept saying, when media would ask him about the quarterback position, and they wouldn't mention Alex Smith because obviously nobody thought Alex Smith was going to be a factor in this particular season. He kept saying, don't forget about Alex Smith. He's still a part of this team and he's an important part. So I don't know who to believe. That's bad. I don't think there was any animosity when he said it, but he just felt not wanted. So we'll see kind of where that goes. I don't expect Alex Smith to be on this team next year. Definitely not for the price that he's collecting right now, which is almost 24 million. The ugly is, of course, from this past week has to be the Tiger Woods accident. Thank goodness he's okay. But what the heck happened? I hope there was nothing bad going on. And I hope they can just finally say, look, this was just an accident. He was going too fast. But that's an ugly situation, especially when you talk about how it's going to affect the rest of his career. He's already in his mid to late 40s. I think he's 46. Pardon me for not knowing his exact age. So he's already up there. He's already dealing with tons of injuries. He's had 10 surgeries in his career. He was just rehabbing from back surgery. So I don't know if he'll ever play again. But one thing to keep in mind, you cannot count out Tiger Woods. Don't ever count him out. So we'll see where this goes. But that was an ugly situation. So let me get, before we get to the district in review, let me get to an email question that we got. It says, Nathan and Stoner, with the Wizards having finally turned it around, do you retract your call for the firing of Scott Brooks? I don't. I can't speak for Nathan. And so whatever I say is going to have to be taken as fact because I don't have anybody to dispute what I'm saying. But no, I still don't think he's the right coach for this team. There are certain coaches that can positively affect a team. First and foremost, you need superstars, but you need a coach to push the right buttons. And I just don't think he's the guy. He had Westbrook, Durant, and Harden all on the same team in OKC and couldn't win a championship. So I don't know how you expect him to do anything with these guys with Beal and Westbrook. Great players, but they're not championship caliber. So no, they need to move on from the coach. Great that they're doing well right now and moving up the ladder, and I expect better things the rest of the year. But no, I absolutely do not retract my calling of the firing for Scott Brooks. Nathan, I don't know. You'll have to ask him next week. So let's talk a little bit about the week in review. I have to wear my glasses. I'm sorry. I'm old. I need reading glasses. If you're not my age and you don't know about reading glasses, you will. Trust me. But I have to wear them. I know there's a glare. I don't like the glare, but too bad. So the week in review for the Nats is there's not a whole lot going on other than today they play their first game, spring game, and which is exciting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the Nats and how their offseason acquisitions pan out. But really, not a whole lot going on other than they're just ramping up for the season. Washington football team, we talked a little bit about the Alex Smith situation. Um, and also, there's some rumors that Jeff Bezos is sniffing around an ownership stake in the team. I don't see it happening. I mean, this guy's the first or second richest guy in the world. He's not going to buy a minority stake in the Wizards. And that seems to be the rumor. That's not going to happen. Jeff Bezos is not going to be a minority owner of the Washington football team. Did I say Wizards? Anyway, that's not going to happen. Dan Snyder is not going to sell the team. The only way this happens is if he's forced out, if Snyder is forced out as owner, and that's going to take something explosive. I just don't see it happening. So let's get to the two teams that really matter this time of year, and that's the Caps and the Wizards. The Caps had an excellent week last week. They went 3-0-1. Their only loss was an overtime loss to Pittsburgh. That was on Tuesday. But then they came back Thursday and put a whooping on the Pens 5-2. But there were 8 possible points this past week. They took 7 of them. That's a fantastic week. They are now tied for first in the East, which is great because they started slipping down towards the line. Only 4 teams make it in the East, so you need to be one of the top 4 teams. Obviously, I think they are, and now they're back in first place. So that's a fantastic week. Their offense is still struggling a little bit, although you see they scored 5 in a game twice. But a lot of those are empty netters. So Ovi and Oshie and Wilson are not scoring like they normally do. I think this is a lull. I don't think this is the way it's going to be the whole year. So a fantastic week last week for the Caps. They play again today against New Jersey again, who they just beat last night 5-2. For the Wizards turnaround is unbelievable. This team was second to last in the East just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what happened other than most likely Russell Westbrook is now finally healthy. So they had a great week. They went out west. They went 3-1 on their West Coast trip. They beat the Lakers. They beat the Nuggets. And last night they beat Minnesota. Although the first half, I didn't know what was going on. They ended up beating them pretty handily. Minnesota is a terrible basketball team. They've got a new coach, and they were supposed to whoop them, and they did eventually. But a great OT win against the Lakers. They got spanked by the Clippers. Listen, the Clippers are the team to beat out west. They are a juggernaut. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Sorry, nobody's beating them in the West. Not the Lakers, even if they have Anthony Davis healthy. The Clippers are the team to beat out west, and the Nets in the East. So they got beat by the Clippers pretty handily. Thursday against the Nuggets. I don't know if you all had a chance to see the end of that game, but the Wizards were up 2 late in the fourth quarter, under 10 seconds. They took a shot, missed the shot. Denver had a 4-on-1 break at the end with Jamal Murray, who had been killing the Wiz all game, leading down the break. Only Bradley Beal is back. What do the other 3 guys do? They all go to the 3-point line. Nobody went to the basket, and there was nobody under the basket. And all Murray had to do was dump it off to a guy cutting, and it was an easy dunk, plenty of time, tied the game, go to overtime. But he stops, and he didn't even pull up to shoot, which would have been scary. He passed to someone else, and they missed the shot, and the Wizards won. But listen, this new way of playing basketball in the NBA, some people don't like it. I like the high scoring, but this is what happens when you're taught over and over on fast breaks that everybody go to the 3-point line, and all one guy had to do was cut to the basket, and they had an uncontested dunk. And so that cost the Nuggets a game, and they've been disappointing this year. But it doesn't matter. The Wiz went 3-1 this past week, and they look like a completely different team. They're now 13-18, moving up the standings. And I'm very excited about watching them every night. Enjoyed last night's game. But they're getting help. Beal and Westbrook are getting help every night from somebody different. Bertans, Matthews, Rui. So it's nice to see that they finally gelled. Westbrook is healthy. I think this is going to be a playoff team. They just got to keep this up, and they've got a game today against the Celtics, which, by the way, this was the first team that started them on this 7-1 trip, or 7-1 last 8 games. The first one was against the Celtics, and everybody said, what's going on here? Jason Tatum had, I don't know, 8 points or something. So Celtics are going to be looking for revenge. So that's the week in review for our local DC teams, the district in review. And that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of Ref the District. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, right below you'll see our email address, refthedistrict@gmail.com. And also you can hit us up on Twitter @refthedistrict, and of course our YouTube page, probably where you're watching this right now. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell all your friends about this show. Sponsors, hit us up for some of our different segments. And Nathan, get better, get healthy. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And listen, we only got one chance at all of this. So how about your goal this week? Be good to one another.